All right, and welcome to Fastbreak Breakfast NBA podcast. My name is Keith Parish. On today's episode, we have Giddey, Abbott, and also in the last drop, Tyler Parker will be stopping by, but I'm joined right now, as I am always, by Jon Burr. Jon, how's it going?
I feel unworthy. Those are two of my favorite NBA talking heads.
I mean, first of all, I think Tyler Parker would be thrilled to be called a talking head by you. Also,
he's more of a laughing head.
I am continually surprised and kept off kilter by which guests you will have heard of.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think it's a very obvious, like last week, you were like, I have a vague idea who Ben Golliver is. And I was like, no. And then other weeks, it's like, I'm surprised. Like Tyler Parker's a name you know real well, but you're a man of varied, unique interests. And I like it when I get a guest on that you're excited about. That makes me happy.
Like those you just nailed the left and right brain. My favorite pundits of the left and right brain of NBA, the commentariat.
Well, there you go.
Right, those are the two zeniths. The only way you could, I mean, when you get hung on, then you'll have truly. That will be when you've truly arrived.
If I could do a Zoom with Nate Duncan and Bill Simmons, that would be my listening. That would be my listening habits.
That would be my OG, OG left and right brain.
Exactly.
That'd actually be like the ventricles of my heart.
Yeah. So Wednesday night in the NBA was very, very packed. We were looking forward to it on the Monday show. Apologies for those of you who wanted it on Tuesday. It came out on Monday. And I think it lived up to expectation, but not to be outdone on Thursday morning. New Sarver dropped. Baxter Holmes at ESPN dropped a sizzling, spicy piece on. I
didn't know who Baxter Holmes was, to your point earlier, but I know who
keep going.
I know who he is now.
Yeah. So this is a piece that was already being defended from the Suns. Before it dropped, it did finally drop, but just more, just uncomfortable stories, allegations. This is how broken I am. And I talk about this with Henry Abbott. I just assume all this stuff is happening all the time. And I read these horrible stories. I'm like, that's just what I guess. I don't know. It's horrifying, but like we heard the eulogy. That eulogy video was just some of the most off-color stuff. And you're like, why just assume that's who this billionaire guy is? He's just a good old boy, rich owner who has no one to tell him like, hey man, you can't do that.
Yeah. Not even when Earl Watson tells him.
Yeah. When Earl Watson says, hey man, you can't do that. And then it's like Sarver's legal team responded with, he did not in fact do that. And
Watson, stoic as Seneca, a new hero in my eye in the Greek tragedy form.
I am concerned as much as I am desensitized to these awful stories of workplace harassment and toxic cultures. I am somewhat not hopeful that anything will change. This is, to me, it's like you had the Dallas Mavericks write up about literal documented sexual harassment where they actually had made official claims to the NBA and HR. This one was more, there's a lot of people recounting and saying these things happened, but I don't know what legal avenue. I'm not a lawyer, obviously. I'm an idiot with a podcast, but like, I don't know, like nothing's going to happen. Right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you have the Donald Sterling situation.
Because I mean, nothing happened nothing happened with the Mark Cuban sexual harassment stuff. He went on the jump with Rachel Nichols and he kind of faux cried, but then nothing happened. I think
there has to be an pre-existent impetus within the ownership group or within the league for an owner to lose control of the team for anything to happen. So Mark Cuban, successful, involved owner, nothing's going to happen. I think Robert Sarver, prior to last year, potentially something happens, but they just made the finals.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think, to quote Don Henley, poop don't float. And these guys, as long as they're successful, they'll probably be able to get away with it. If this happened to Robert Sarver of trading Goran Dragic for
2 years ago
eras, then maybe that something happens. But right now you have, the head of the Players Association playing for that guy. Nothing serious is nothing. Nothing franchise altering will happen unless it's for the benefit of the franchise.
And you have a lot of very well respected people in this piece by Baxter Holmes weighing in, saying like, I've never witnessed this at all, and this is not my experience, and I'm very surprised. And so
I feel like those people, just because of the stuff I'm just going to call him Baxter, in Baxter's, we're on first name basis, in Baxter's piece, because I think more than the Sterling piece, this has such irrefutable pattern of behavior, as opposed to some old man just kind of doddering in and out of locker rooms saying inappropriate things. This has such a pattern of like saying racist things to people of a race constantly.
Yeah.
That it's irrefutable almost. And it just looked really, if you're named in that piece as one of the defenders, I think it's a really hard to recover from.
I don't think
we'll see.
It's not. I don't think it's going to, like, there's a lot of no comments, and there's just a lot of like this. All you can do is give your experience, like, and so it's hard. I don't know. I'm don't know again what's going to come from it. Looking at the actual,
you have the glass half full and the glass half empty scenarios right before you with Sterling and Cuban. So I understand why you would have no clue where you stand.
Yeah. The basketball on Wednesday night, we've got a few teams that I think are kind of sliding away already. I was so optimistic based on the Timberwolves not playing anyone. Just this nebulous good vibes I'd assigned to them. Now I'm worried, like, this is just the same old Timberwolves. This is not the Chris Finching. This is just like, I know they're only 3-4, long season, but I'm getting like, oh, this is just like they're going to lose this game to a team that's not that great. And now they've slipped back to the back of the Western Conference, and the rest of the West, I have fewer questions about, like 11 teams. And it's like, oh, are they just gonna be at the bottom again? Like maybe, ahead of the Thunder Rockets.
It's been a tumultuous affair, to say the least. There is a bright spot in the midst of this where they did beat the Bucks on a night when Giannis had 40 points. But then, to pull us back down to earth, that was a game where podcast anti-mascot D'Angelo Russell went off. So I don't even know how to feel about that. But I don't know. That it seems like I really hate that Chuck referenced this as a team in tumult, and I scoffed at him last week on the show. Like, I'm not going to apologize to Chuck. I'm just not going to find some other error I had. But do you think there's some like malingering malignance here, or what?
I have no idea. I mean, I can just read what the Timberwolves bloggers and writers who cover the team talk about. They don't seem satisfied. They seem like, it seems like they're saying there is smoke, that this team can't shake off these past errors of just resting on your laurels when you beat one team. You beat the Bucks and you're like, yeah, we did it. And then it's like, oh, you continue to lose. I mean, like, losing to the Clippers is no big deal, but like they got housed, like at home. Like,
they also got housed by the Magic.
Yeah. So
they could not stop Cole Anthony and Franz Wagner.
I'm worried
could not
for them.
Stop them.
I think passing them the other way is a team, the Kings. Like, we don't get too excited about the Kings beating the Pelicans, but the manner in which the Kings beat the Pelicans, to me. So the Kings lost Rashawn Holmes. Rashawn Holmes tosses his headband in the crowd. Tony Brothers runs him, says, hey man, you're gone. Rashawn Holmes is one of their most integral, valuable players in my mind.
Right.
He's out of the game. They're losing by double digits. And then they're just, they put it together. It's a working, like, we're supposed to beat this team, and to see them come back and get that victory, and hey, and cover. This is a Pelicans team. That's,
that was when I stopped watching.
Blown 2 covers in their last 2 games. But to see, you see,
I had Pelicans plus 7.5 or whatever it was in that game, and turned that game off because I assumed that I had the money was in hand. I thought
you had the Pelicans.
Like, absolutely, we've done this. Man. Another thing, and I know we're only talking about a 500 team, but another thing that's impressive about the Kings is they're doing this during like a pretty significant slump by De'Aaron Fox, who we've thought of as their best player. But there's just a lot of good guards in Sacramento right now, and everyone hasn't quite found their role. But when you're able to rotate, 3 guards like that who are really excellent, and Buddy Hield, then you have.
Yeah,
something.
you're talking Halliburton and Davion Mitchell.
Yeah.
Those guys, they're just good basketball players. And
Yeah.
I think they are definitely benefiting this team. Think about the Pelicans, an unbelievable non-cover against the Suns. I couldn't remember who it was against the Suns on NBA on CNC. They were up by so much. And we expect the Suns, Robert Sarver's team, a good team, to come back and take care of business against the Pelicans. But to have Sacramento do a similar thing, they weren't down as much, but to have a Kings team who has struggled over the years to be able no, we're supposed to beat this team. We're going to take care of business. I'm feeling pretty good. Like they are definitely trending in the right direction.
This is a team trending. I mean, this is something that's trending in neither direction, but has to be acknowledged in our realm of horrific box scores. I want to go back all the way to Sunday, Keith.
Yeah.
I know you didn't expect to talk about that Nets Pistons game, but we're going to talk about that Nets Pistons game because I want to tell you who
I didn't watch it. Did I need to watch it?
And you shouldn't have.
Okay.
I mean, lost in the the tumult and the Sturm and Drang of James Harden's first triple double of the season. Let's look at the listed top performer for the Detroit Pistons, and this is a guy who has been I believe it was Rookie of the Month with some pretty amazing stats before, but Saddiq Bey, top performer, 9 points, 3 rebounds, 6 assists.
Wow. No, you're right. That's very reminiscent of Saddiq Bey winning.
Yeah.
Did he wait? He won Player of the Week.
Player of the Week. That's it.
Not Rookie of the Week.
Yeah, Player of the Week.
Player of the Week, averaging 14 points per game.
Yeah,
it was one of the most bizarre weekly award things, an award I didn't know I cared about.
Participation trophy.
Until that happened. Yeah, congrats Saddiq Bey. What is Saddiq Bey? Is he just what's his future? 6-man gunner? Or is he actual starting type guy?
I mean, for them, he's like a starting type.
No, but I'm saying what's
piece,
the ceiling? What are we hoping for Saddiq Bey?
I mean, Saddiq Bey to me needs to be kind of 3-and-D-ish, I guess. Although I mean, he can pass.
I mean, your fifth starter, like a Mikal Bridges type. I mean, Mikal Bridges is like the elite fifth starter prototype.
Sure,
the best fifth starter in the NBA, possibly.
He's like Mario Ellie or something. I don't know.
I like that.
He cannot be one of the first 4 players out of your mouth when discussing your team on any level.
I think I think you nailed it there. Well, anyway, John, I will get you out of here. Before you are, let's do it. Actually, I'll just get you out of here. All right, John, I will get you out of here. Appreciate you stopping by and enjoy your weekend. I will talk to you next week.
Give Tyler and Henry my best.
Will do.
All right, see you, man.
All right, see you, buddy.
We drive six miles over because it's a husband and wife team. She answers the phone and she does not treat you like an idiot. And she's like, she knows what's going on. She's super nice. I have no idea if the prices or the service is good. I just know that she answers the phone and she's really nice.
I know my test is, and I think every mechanic should do this, whether they're honest or dishonest. One time when you take it in, they need to say listen, I didn't do anything. It's fine. Or they're saying, you know what? 100%. Just one time they got to do a thing for free. And then you're like, oh, they're honest. Even if they're not honest.
Con be a long con? That'd be nice, right? I'd appreciate a long con.
That's what I'm saying. I bring in the car and they're like, man, we drove it around. I couldn't figure out what you were talking about. And then I brought it back in. They're like, listen, all right, I'm not sure what you wanted. So we did this, we charged $12 just for the part. Hopefully that works. But I couldn't, you do that one time, we're on the hook. And then it is a long con. And then you can reap the benefits down the line. You say, tell me whatever the tires cost. And I'm like, oh, okay. I guess that's what tires cost.
If you add to this long con, maybe they have cookies or Jolly Ranchers or gumballs or something in the waiting area. Maybe they have good free coffee. You put a little more con into it. People will go to war for you.
That's right. The liquor store gave my daughter a lollipop. And I was like, I don't know if that's all right. Is that? I feel like in Tennessee, if I wanted to, I could get that outlawed. I think I could call the right legislatures and be like, listen,
I think you're right.
Liquor stores should not be allowed. It should be banned to give candy to children. You're getting these kids hooked.
Yeah.
On the liquor store. Although we just
got me.
We just got
as an American. I don't know where I stand on this. Like I'm stirred up on this one. Yeah.
I mean, we just got them open on Sundays like 2 years ago. So maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I shouldn't do anything. Anyway, let's do a show that I can release to people.
Turn my ringer off because I'm a classy guy.
I appreciate that.
No problem.
Yeah, we can just talk about mechanics. That's usually honestly my best material is.
Oh, A+ stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's get this on the record. Here we go. I'm joined right now by Henry Abbott from True Hoop. Henry, how's it going?
It's great to be on a breakfast show.
Is it?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, no, all these shows about basketball, I'm tired of it. Like, I want to talk about eggs, damn it.
Let's talk about eggs. What did you have for breakfast?
No, actually, it's a terrible topic for me. I'm on a stomach journey. I've never had stomach problems in my life, but the last couple of months, I've had endoscopies, all this stuff. Now I'm in this week where, do you know what the Brat Diet is?
No, it's not about bratwurst, is it?
It's so not that.
Okay.
I think it's bananas, rice, applesauce, toast.
What?
And so if you're wrestling with, like, am I lactose intolerant is one concern. Like, whatever.
Yeah.
We're not sure what's going on with me. But you go on the Brat Diet and then you add things slowly in. I started it on Monday. It's fine. It's boring, And so I'm actually, today is a very exciting day. I added my first dairy product in. I had a little bit of yogurt. With banana, because that's
you've now. Well, I mean, if you hadn't told me this was a limiting diet, if you just told me for breakfast you had banana, rice, applesauce, yogurt, and toast, I would say that's a fantastic breakfast. Like, that's an amazing breakfast. Whoa. When you set up with the limiter, I've been having some stomach issues. Then I'm like, oh, that does seem restrictive. It seems unpleasant.
I didn't think I would sit around thinking about like hot sauce as much as I do. This hot sauce,
This is, I mean, not to go totally off breakfast into dietary restrictions. Maybe I should loop my wife in on this Zoom because she's struggled with a similar over the past 6 months. She's basically now gluten and dairy free. And she cut it down to essentially like 3 foods, and she was eating rice and plain chicken, and that was all she ate. And then she's worked it out, but like she had a similar thing, was like, is her gallbladder acting up? And we had a lot of medical issues trying to figure it out. And now she's kind of just figuring out like what she can eat. And it's basically, she's gluten-free and dairy-free. And that seems to have solved a lot of stuff, but she had no issues, until just this past season, or I say season, this past like 6 months or so.
No, break it into your family life into seasons.
That's right. There was the awful season. There was the one season that took like 12 months. That was horrible. That was everyone's worst season. What was the COVID NBA season? This last season, little cramped. And now we're in a new season. The season feels regular, right? This is what a great transition. The fans are back. Terry Rozier's missing shots again. The NBA is back to normal.
You guys went to a game.
I haven't been to a game.
Oh, you haven't? Oh, you went to an event. You went to an event. That's what it was. You watched a game.
We had a watch party in Nashville. Yeah, that's what we did. We did. Okay. We were around people. I mean, I went to Summer League. That was a game. I haven't been to a Grizzlies game in a couple of years. I've been meaning to, but I thought this was funny. I saw David Thorpe on Twitter, who you work with at True Hoop. He was pointing out like Terry Rozier's really fallen off a cliff. And my thought was like, is it the fans? Because we have all these people now, like they're not calling fouls this year, which is awesome. And maybe we'll get to that in a little bit. But like last year, you had maybe some aberrations because you're playing in an empty gym. Like, who were our empty gym all-stars?
Yeah. Was
it Terry Rozier? Because he was incredible last season.
No, these self-motivated dudes, right? Like the robots, right? The robots loved it, right? The one thing, honestly, and one of the big factors, maybe this is crazy, but like if it were me playing out there, I would be very unnerved attacking the rim with all those photographers and all their hard equipment on the baseline. Like having that cleared out did seem like, here I come, I'm gonna your head.
Well, we also had guys making incredible out of bounds saves last season because there's no one on the sidelines. There's all you have to watch out for is that robot cam which could we could cut you in half if it like goes to but like besides that, you had guys doing the full Rodman constantly because there was no worries about crashing into the front row and all those pricey drinks and handbags.
Yeah, I'm all for a little more room, I think. And also the stupid stepping out of bounds while trying to shoot a corner three thing, like or starting your drive over there, like that's a game crusher. I just think we need a little bit bigger, a little bit more room that's inbounds and a little bit more room that's out of bounds so that these athletes don't feel inhibited flying around like obviously Terry Rozier wants to. That's obviously the problem.
Well, also you say the like not worried about all the things around. Also, could it be like just the pressure of now that there's people yelling at you again? Or maybe that's what some guys need. Steven Adams is leading the NBA in free throw percentage. Did he need hecklers? Well, he's 13 for 13. But did he need hecklers? Did he need people screaming at him to focus? Last year in an empty gym, he was atrocious.
Well, and then I'm going to add one more question, which is schools are dealing with like way more bad behavior than ever because people forgot how to be around each other, right?
Oh, okay.
Like our fans, these probably aren't fans like they were before, right? These are probably fans gone wild. Right.
Well, so I think there is something to that. I was thinking of sporting events over the past 12 months when if you want to break it down into demographics, not to get too stereotypical, but if you want to, I'm gonna excuse my stereotyping with the word demographics. Like the people who are more comfortable being out in this pandemic area. Sometimes there's the people who are a little more free and feel a little more like at liberty to do things and not worry about others as much. And those are some of the fans at the sporting events. You're like, hey, there's a lot of fights at sporting events now. Like, well, maybe there's a crossover, the Venn diagram of who felt like they should have been able to go to the sporting event the whole time to now who's actually in attendance. Like now the ratio is like, is that 85% of the fans? This also goes to the car accidents. Didn't really go down.
Right.
And it's like, well, that's because the people on the road felt a little more liberated to do whatever they felt like they were doing. And maybe there were fewer cautious drivers slowing things down.
I think I'm quoting LeBron when I say, courtside Karen, mad.
We did have we've had a couple of ejections too from courtside. Although I think one Rondo maybe was at fault and it wasn't actual the courtside because I think Rondo had someone thrown out from a front row and then it turned out maybe Rondo was the villain. I need to vet that. I'm not sure if I'm remembering the story totally correctly.
It is that okay. Not to get too deep about it, but like so much death, right? Death has been normalized, and we didn't really talk about it, but now it's like only 10,000 this week or whatever the hell the numbers are, right? It's like a shocking amount of death. I think it does recalibrate us a little bit with like, driving aggressively or being a little loudmouth after a couple of beers at a game. These things feel small by comparison, right? It used to seem like a big deal. What a jerk would yell at someone. There were those jerks, but they were known as jerks. But now it's like, what? You're worried about what?
Yeah. I don't know. It's all pretty heavy. It all ties into Damian Lillard being bad now or something. I'm not sure. You heard it.
You're segueing. You're like a master.
I'm trying. Well, I get uncomfortable talking about like serious things. Like I'll talk about non-basketball, non-serious things. But
what did you have for breakfast? What about that?
On the spot, nothing. I gave the kids. I gave the kids Lucky Charm. No, today was Fruit Loops and Cheerios with milk. Was for the 4-year-old. I just had black coffee. I've yet to enjoy the fruits of breakfast. I did yesterday have an incredible cinnamon glazed donut from $5 Bakery in Nashville. It was decadent and delightful.
Are you blending those two cereals for your 4-year-old?
No. The 6-year-old.
Oh, I see.
He had Fruit Loops. The 4-year-old had Cheerios with milk. I guess I wouldn't oppose if they asked. I don't have a very firm rule against blending breakfast cereals. Hadn't thought about it. You know what? I'm going to come out opposed to it. I'm going to figure out my reasoning later.
I can guarantee that if you lived in Reuben Hall of NYU in 1991 and ate at their cafeteria, you would have blended cereals by now. Like they had like the This was the best thing.
The big canisters, and they turn, and you just
Jeez.
dumps them out. Well, I'll say Florida State University's dining hall also had some pretty big, things. Although honestly, I didn't mix them. I was mainly a Frosted Flakes guy, just a big thing of Frosted Flakes and some whole milk. Whole milk blew my mind when I got to college. Cause I don't think I'd really, I think we only drank skim milk at my house. And I went over there and I was like, this milk is so thick. Have you had it? And I remember being so excited about that. So yeah, I was a Frosted Flakes and whole milk guy in college.
I can't believe you didn't blend. That just seems like I don't know. I felt like we all blended. I felt like we were blending 100% across the board, and that's all we ate basically. It was like 3 meals a day.
I mean, maybe life experience wise, the kids going to NYU were a little bit more out there than a sheltered kid from Franklin, Tennessee, who hadn't yet decided. I hadn't heard of a bagel until Seinfeld. So I think that's another frequent breakfast topic where I'm like, when did bagels start? When I was a kid, I never heard of a bagel. We never had bagels everywhere. Speaking of bagels, Lillard was 0 for.
No, Lillard's not been good. 15 to 65 from 3 for a guy who averages 37% from 3 over his career, even though he takes all the bad ones, right? He takes the 40-footers, he takes the end of quarter ones, he takes them all. He's an absolutely extraordinary shooter, and I don't know. We tried at True Hoop to do a noble thing, which was to compare him to Tom Hanks. I don't know if we pulled that off or not, but
it works for me. It works for me.
Tom Hanks. Here's how this goes. Tom Hanks made Splash in '84, and then had 7. I think I'm right in saying had over 2 years 7 movies that were not exactly hits, and didn't really change anything, and then had just one of the best runs in Hollywood history of being a star of mega hits. So the idea is basically Damien doesn't have to change anything. If he's using the same process, this wouldn't be enough misses to be start tweaking, because the tweaking can mess you up. But then my buddy David Thorpe, who actually knows what he's talking about, had a little addendum to that Tom Hanks based point of mine, which was if he were advising a player like Damien, he would have a real honest chat with him. Are you really committed to Portland for the long haul? Because just very recently you were talking about how you would die for a championship, and you guys aren't going to win one here. If you really have mixed feelings about that, that's the kind of thing that can cause a shooting slump.
So that's what makes me think, so Tom Hanks, he's stuck to his process, had a great career. Although now Tom Hanks is in the I make movies for Apple TV portion of his career. I don't know if that's going to change anything. Is Damian Lillard has it passed? Because you have a lot of factors. Damian Lillard is older. He also added to your stat. He was 3 for 12 from 3 on Wednesday night. So still in that shooting slump, it's extending. And are there the other factors of the Blazers? Is this it for Damian Lillard? He set up a lot of pressure about, I don't want to be the guy that moves and changes teams, but now it's your team's not that good. And are there other factors coming into play? Is it the hecklers in the Rose Garden yelling at him? Or what about that Sixers game where the Sixers, when they introduced the Trailblazers lineups, they went back to the high school chants of yelling, "You suck" to every Blazers fan until Damian Lillard, and they cheered for him. That's incredible. Well played, Sixers fans.
The Sixers thing is fascinating. I don't know why everyone else isn't obsessed with this fact, but the Sixers hired Phil Beckner. Well, they didn't hire him. They contracted with him. Phil Beckner is a Weber State assistant coach. Lovely guy, but he's Damian Lillard's guy. This is so there have been so many stories about Ben Simmons and who the Sixers trade target is, blah, blah, blah. No. They want this guy.
Yeah.
The Sixers brass is no, there's lots of reason to hire Phil Beckner. He's great. But the way Daryl Morey thinks, there's no freaking way he hired him because he was just looking for, a useful influence in the gym. No. This is a Lillard play. The Simmons long, slow maneuver. This is a dance with Neil O'Shea for sure. Right. And it's a dance with Aaron Goodwin, and it's a dance with Damian Lillard. And, are the Sixers a very real question is, so Lillard's a Portland first. He's happy to be the team forever guy, but he also wants to win a championship. I think most of his career, he thought he would win a championship staying, and then he'd be the ultimate hero. That's unlikely. I'm a Blazers fan. Let's say it's possible, but it's not possible. Right.
Right.
Like, are the Sixers like, so do you blow up that perfect reputation that you have as a loyalist for the Sixers? Because you still might not win a championship. Like, that's not a dream situation. It's a good one. It's a shot. It's shaking it up, but it's not quite like going to play with Giannis or LeBron. It's not quite the same.
Well, so, I mean, I don't know how you define it as far as a dream, as far as like title odds. Part of me would say it does feel like a dream situation. Like if it's because right now the Sixers without Simmons they're good. I think a lot of people thought they would still be good, and they are. They seem to be quite good without him. It's as far as NBA situations go, it's a near perfect fit where you have the salary already available in Ben Simmons, who's not playing for you, to just swap out Ben Simmons, bring in Damian Lillard. And that does seem like, as far as however old Damian Lillard is, like to find a spot right there where you already have an MVP caliber big man who you can play alongside, where your games shouldn't overlap at all. That does seem like a perfect fit. As far as arguing whether it's dream or not, if the salary cap didn't exist and you could go join the Bucks and like take George Hill's minutes or something, and then that team would be a prohibitive favorite. It does seem like an ideal basketball situation fit, at least to me, for Damian Lillard to go say, hey, listen, you would be, maybe it's tough because the Nets and Bucks are also awesome and in the East, but I think you immediately become one of the 4 best teams or 3 best teams, like as far as title odds. And like, do you have better situations than that ever in the NBA where like you have, higher odds to win a title?
Yeah, everything you say is true. And like, I think I have, when this was first a thought, like in the beginning of the summer after, Damian started telegraphing that he was not all in, this one struck as like, oh, they'll probably win a championship, right? Like, Embiid and Lillard, like, great. With a good defensive team, blah, blah, blah. So that's probably where the analysis should stop. Like, I'll add one little wrinkle though, which we reported this summer, which is, everybody watched Giannis win the championship. And then Damian went and joined Team USA with Bam Adebayo. And the scuttlebutt, the feedback, the rumor mill is that his vision of how he's best deployed is with a super athletic big. Like, he wants to play with Giannis or someone who's Giannis-like. And he does, like, he has a multifaceted game, but he does like to attack the rim, but he's a little guy. You can't do it when there's tons of traffic there. So if you're running with a guy you can lob to 13 feet and he's just going to hammer dunk it, then like you have room to finish too. Like, he can make a sort of dynamic off the dribble attack with some partners. Maybe not Nurkic. Right? Maybe the big fucker isn't really working, right? Like, maybe that's not perfect for his multifaceted game. It'd be better to have Bam Adebayo or someone, right? So
that to me sounds like someone who's not being honest with themselves. Like,
go on.
like Lillard, for me, his value is he is a half-court basketball player. When the playoffs bog down and the transition opportunities are fewer and farther between, he's a half-court killer. And it's the shooting. It's the fact that he can shoot from 35 feet. If that's disappeared, okay, never mind. But the fact that this is a guy who can score and create his own shot in the postseason, and this is proven, for me, that's like his huge value. There's a lot of guards who can get out and run if you're on a Giannis team and put up. Eric Bledsoe shot almost 50% from the field playing on the Bucks, because of these transition opportunities. In the postseason, when the game slows down, well, then Bledsoe disappears. For me, that's the value of a guy like Lillard. It's also the value of his teammate, CJ McCollum. These are guys who are proven they can create their own shot, a tough mid-ranger or a very, very deep three-pointer. Damian Lillard, I found it a little comical, him thinking like, oh, I'm best running with all these athletic youngs. It's like, no, man, you're an old small point guard. Like, I think that's for me. While I love the fit with Embiid, because in playoff basketball, that half-court offense seems like it could be incredible, and it could be better than everybody else's half-court offense.
Yeah. But okay, so let's just pretend that we agree that Damian's the closest equivalent to Stephen Curry, right?
Okay,
like,
sure.
He's in the ballpark.
Yeah.
But Curry doesn't play with Embiid or anyone like him. In fact, when they tried big stars like that, like the Warriors team didn't win championships like that. They won championships with the death lineup, right? Like, so to me, like, you're right. Like Damian can get the best out of Damian by being what you're describing, but like winning championships with a terrible defender in Damian, right?
Yeah.
Like, and is going to require like the best offense of all time, or even better than that, right? And that probably means space and movement and just like all the Draymond Green stuff. Draymond Green is like Damian's best friend, right? Like the way that they play, the way that they move, and the way that, like, you know, think about that when they were winning, the Warriors were winning championships, like the defense was so confused and befuddled that Draymond was all alone under the basket and no one even knew he was there in the finals, right? Like if Damian's going to get an offense like that, I think it's going to mean stuff that you can't do with Nurkic or possibly Embiid on the floor.
He also might need a time machine to go back to years ago when people were confused by small ball and it wasn't the in vogue thing that literally every team was trying to do. Yeah, I agree with you, and I see what he's saying, but like trying to recreate having Draymond Green and Klay Thompson, like that seems like a tough ask. I understand that's what maybe Damian envisions as like the best case scenario, but yeah,
I'm about to get deep on here. Okay. So I failed at this. I tried years ago to make this like the NBA season preview of ESPN the magazine. Like I was part of a small team that had to like work it all out, and I wanted to have a chart for every team, which was how many square feet do you have to guard against that team? Like, where do you have to be? Right. Yeah. And like the point, this is when the hate of the Warriors, the point was basically like, it's not so much that, you know, Curry's here or Draymond's there. It's that like, you have to be everywhere. And like, it's like the taffy gets stretched really thin. And so it's just weak taffy. Right. Yeah. So to me, this is the problem of the Embiid Lillard thing is like, you know exactly where they both are. You know where the attack is coming from. Like, you could double both of them, like as the ball moves around, right? If you have a true hoop, we call it the Cuisinart, the Warriors offense. If you have the Cuisinart running, then like you don't know where the shot's coming from, and it's scary. So it's just a square footage problem. You just have to people have to run everywhere, and then somebody's open, right? I think that's the like. I don't think it's so novel. I think it's just tough. It's just like it's just like you got to guard. All the way across the court and almost all the way out to half court, and you're fucked as a defense. Whereas like, the Blazers offense is the second best of all time last year. It's great. Don't get me wrong, but it needs to be way better than that. If they're going to not be like, I think last night the Cavaliers shot like 64% effective field goal percentage against the Blazers. Like, do you know how good Portland's offense has to be? Like, it has to be way better than Dame hitting the 35-footer,
That's pretty brutal. Thinking about where teams have to guard. I remember I watched the 2011 Grizzlies Spurs, like that early grit and grind. The 8 seed Grizzlies upset the 1 seed Spurs. The Grizzlies didn't guard anything but the rim. They just packed it in. They basically beat the Spurs because they're like, hey, Spurs, corner threes, shoot as many as you want. We're not going to guard any of them. And the Spurs just couldn't make the easiest shot, which in now basketball, like the most valuable shot, the corner three. Grizzlies didn't even guard them. And that was playoff success just 10 years ago, was not guarding those corners. Before you get out of here, you're writing this really long, like series on True Hoop.
Way too long.
Would you drop part 18?
18. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Part 18 happened today. I said earlier, I don't like talking about serious things, but like this is
what the hell are you doing?
Well, all right. In 1 minute, Henry, can you sum up? Is it possible to ethically consume NBA basketball? Am I allowed just to be a mindless, dumb consumer and not know that Apollo Global funds everything?
Everybody can do whatever they want. I want you to have fun. I want people to get together. Okay, I'm going to hold up a book here. This book, Catherine Belton, she's getting sued by a bunch of oligarchs in London right now. Like she wrote like the book on Putin. There's a little episode in here where they talk about like, back in the days of the Soviet Union, someone proposed sending a spy to the US or to the West under the cover of being a billionaire. And they're like, oh, that would work so well, but we don't have the budget, so we're just not going to do that. So you can go as a student, right? Then as she explains it, you should take her word for it, not mine. Basically, like they did that. Like it sounds so crazy, but if if you look at the history of Roman Abramovich, who owns Chelsea Football Club, like he's wrapped up in a bunch of stuff that's way more complicated. And, now we know quite a lot about it. So to me, like, be a Chelsea fan, go to a Chelsea game, high five your Chelsea friends, root for Chelsea. I don't care. But like, if in fact Roman Abramovich bought the team for some purpose that isn't he loves sports or he wants to make money, like, don't you want to know that? Don't you feel a little bit like a sucker if you're just like, what now? I'm part of some like sport washing campaign or some like subtle infiltration of Western banking or whatever the hell it is. Like, I just kind of feel like I hate to be a sucker. And like, like this stuff is around now. It seems really weird and out of the way to us as sports fans, but it's right down Broadway for the billionaires who own sports teams. So to me, I'm like, let's at least spend 10 minutes trying to understand what they're up to.
Yeah. I mean, like I read so much of it, and not just this stuff, not just this series, just random NBA owners. I think last time you were on, we talked about Tillman Fertitta, and it's like,
what a guy. What a guy.
It's like all this stuff is out in the open.
Yeah.
And the NBA is just like, yeah, sure, you'd make a great owner. And we're like, well, why? I'm confused. Like, are there not other like more morally okay? And then you're like, no, there aren't. There's just, that's, if you have $1 billion, usually that's the kind of thing. Like,
we're having a hard time. We're having a hard time coming up with the people with the pockets deep enough,
right?
Not creeps. Like, we are just struggling with that.
Yeah. We have, so like I read your stuff and I'm like, wow, this is a very interesting, entertaining, and disturbing story that also contains the characters of like my daily life of NBA teams. But then I like read it and I'm like, well, that was interesting. Guess I'll just not do anything about it, and I'll watch the NBA tonight. Yeah, no, it's the early stages of this, right? I kind of feel like, I don't know. When Trump was elected, there was a little bit like, we knew a lot of, women had accused him of sexual assault. He was kind of brazenly racist, and I was like, oh, I guess those just aren't like litmus test issues for a lot of voters, right? It's just kind of like, there's some other stuff you like about him which outweighs those things. They weren't like disqualifying, right? And I'm like, I feel a little bit in that bind here as a sports fan, where I'm like, okay, so these things I'm learning are they, annoyances? Are they frustrations, or are they like 5-alarm fires of? And ultimately where I land is like, the people who are supposed to be in charge of this, I'm a fucking sports writer. I'm not supposed to be in charge of policing this, right? Like, it's supposed to be like the Department of Justice, right? Like, right. Like if the people who were supposed to do this job did their job, we wouldn't have to sweat this, right? We'd have like the unincarcerated, legally approved billionaires, right? Instead we have like, oh, they seem to have a pretty good handle on the Department of Justice over there. That's right. That's right. That's one of the things where it's like, and it's a weird issue. It's a weird like statement on human morals, and like just maybe however I've been programmed in the life I lived, and like, and now as I'm an adult, it's like, could you just, some part of me feels like, could you just not be so brazen? Could you act like it's wrong and you're trying to hide it? And somehow that makes me feel more comfortable, I guess. Like, I don't, it's wrong when I say it out loud. I'm like, that's clearly wrong. I should be mad if you're trying to hide it. But some part of the brazenness really rubs me the wrong way. Well, I'm like, listen, I have this religious thing where like I was taught right from wrong, and you're supposed to feel remorse and you're supposed to confess and do stuff. What if you just tried that sometime? But yeah, it's really weird where it's just so open and everyone's like, yeah, that's how it works. No one cares anymore. It turns out no one is going to come arrest anyone. So we're just good. We're just going to keep doing what we're doing. This genius guy, John Coates, kind of encountered this medical thing that happens in the brains of people. Once you're 10 years in his writing into being like in an extreme position of power, a billionaire, president, prime minister, your mirror neurons, which are basically your ability to like feel the pain when someone in a movie gets their hand pricked, right? They stop working. And so I think this is what you're detecting is like, very commonly people who've been in power for a long time, just like literally are like, why would anybody care? Like, I get to just be me. I can do whatever crazy thing, say whatever thing. And like, everybody will just deal. Like that, I think that was in Succession this Sunday, actually. Exactly. Succession is the perfect portrait of this. Oh, Henry. Anyway, thanks so much for hopping on. It's always a pleasure to talk with you. Listeners, go to truehoop.com and check out all the wild stories over there that Henry does. It's great work. None of it is about my stomach issues, I promise. Thanks, man. I look forward to the next time. Have a good one. All right. Thanks, buddy. Yeah, man. Super fun. Sort of crazy.
We had a lot of crazy stuff in there, but
That was good.
All
No,
right.
that was perfect. Thanks, man.
All right, cool. We'll talk soon.
All right, see you, buddy. Yo,
What's up, Keith? How you doing, man?
I'm good, brother. How are you?
You know, hanging in there.
Hang on. All right. That's good. Glad to hear it, man.
Yeah. What that jaw layup last night was, or we can talk about it on the.
Let's go. Let's get it. Let's on that.
Okay, yeah.
Save it.
Okay.
It's now time for the last drop. I'm joined by Tyler Parker. Hey, man. How are you?
Hey, buddy. Good, man. Thanks for having me. I just started to talk about something, and I was like, "Oh, wait, I don't have a lot to say. I got to save this for whenever you hit record."
You don't have a lot of time either. That's
Well,
not on you. That's on me. I've only allotted you a very small amount of time.
No, that jaw layup last night, that 360 thing was just absolutely nuts.
It was not showboating.
No,
It was a functional 360.
it was
a
necess-
360 to get past your defender. He spun past Will Barton in the air to make an easy layup.
It was 1000% necessary. It was instinctual. It was great.
A utilitarian 360.
He's a guy. He does stuff because he has to do stuff. He's not out there for the theatrics. You know, he's just trying to get the job done in whatever way he needs to.
You know, I think maybe this is a growth area. I think in previous seasons, he was there for the theatrics. He said, I'm going to jump over Kevin Love.
Right.
He said, I'm going to try to murder Anthony Davis this year. I've noticed, honestly, on his breakaways, you know, like it's all by himself. Everyone's like, what's he going to do? What's he going to do? He has started doing like, it's a dunk. He doesn't grab the rim. He'll tomahawk it a little. He'll pull it back behind his head, but then when he throws it in, he's just throwing it in. It's very businesslike. He's not grabbing the rim.
He's kind of downshifted a little bit. Maybe he's trying to conserve some energy.
I just think it's just business. It's all business.
Man, maturity is a beautiful thing. Maturity is great.
Maturity is great. Speaking of maturity, the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Yeah, I mean, just so mature.
You're here. All right, you're a Thunder fan.
Yeah.
You're a representative of
Okay.
Thunder Nation, as we call it.
Right.
How's it going? I just want to know how's it going. I mean, you're giddy for Giddey, right? Everyone's wild about Giddey.
I mean, 1000% hook, line, and sinker. I'm all about it. I wasn't sure at the start of the year. Definitely took me till about the end of the second quarter of the first game, and I was like, all right, I can love this person for, you know, the rest of his tenure. That's fine with me. No, I mean, obviously 1-6 is not good, but I don't care. It's better for me than 6-1. And
No, don't say that. 6-1's better for you.
There's
nothing better than winning 80% of your games, man.
I'm talking about for going forward. If this specific team
was good enough to be 6-1, that's a mission accomplished.
I would assume, though, that something horrible had happened, that maybe the rest of the NBA had come down with the coronavirus.
All right. You're saying, you would understand it wouldn't be sustainable. No, I'm just messing with you.
No, I get it. But watching Giddey and Shea together and being able to kind of, you know, have some imagination for what that backcourt could look like here in a few years, that's been really, really fun to watch. Giddey being able to, because the shooting has been okay. It's not unbelievable or anything like that, but it's been serviceable enough to where, you know, he's making people pay if they play off of him. And Shea's just looks so good. They finally started running some pick and rolls with them during the last game against the Clippers, where either one of them would be on the ball, but they'd start kind of doing some stuff with them up at the top of the key. I hope they keep doing that, because that could cause a lot of issues for defenses, I think.
So Giddey's been tremendous. He's been a lot of fun. I do see people throwing around this stat from Cleaning the Glass that he's in the 100th percentile of assist percentage. That's for wings. He's being judged against wings. He's a goal. Sure. Let's just slow it down. He's really cool. He's a great passer. No one's not saying he's not a great passer. We can slow it down on the propaganda.
Hey, when you see those 3 digits, everybody
100%
just gets excited, everybody gets pumped up.
Also, Clan of the Glass has the 0th percentile. Do you say 0th? Does that mean there's 101? If we're counting 0, that means we have 101 digits.
Yeah.
Because you got 100 digits, then plus 0, that's 100. So I don't know exactly how the mathematicians.
I think I
away
would,
with that.
I think I would do 0th though. I think that's right.
Yeah,
I think you're right about that.
That's the right to say it. All right. So the excitement over Giddey's there. What about our other guy, Poku? Did you feel offended in the one game, the Thunder win?
Right.
And we got a big rematch tonight.
I know.
The Thunder beat them. They beat the Lakers playing again on Thursday night, but at what cost? Tyler? They benched Poku. He got a DNP in the second half, and that's how they led to the only win. How'd that make you feel?
I mean, it hurt my feelings. It wasn't. I was super duper worried about my best friend there for a while. He's played a little bit better these last few games. There were some times in those first 4 where, my God, I mean, he really did look like a baby deer trying to, sprint on ice, it was just
some people have been saying, not me, some people have been saying he's the worst player in the NBA. I've heard that from other basketball analysts.
I get that is like, you see a particularly bad replay of a particularly bad play. You're like, Jesus, look at this guy. He looks weird. And I see this terrible thing. So he must be the worst player in the league. People don't actually think that, right?
I don't, probably not. Maybe you could say this statement. You could say he's playing the worst of any player. Worst players aren't getting playing time. So would perhaps he be playing the worst? He's
the worst player that's playing.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
That's what some people are saying. I'm not saying it again. I'm not saying it. I've heard it.
Look, Poku, I defend you. against these attacks from Keith and his ilk.
Yeah, sure.
I'm sorry about this. No, I don't think he's the worst in the league, but I do agree that he looked rough. What I want is he needs to be out there with better players. They need to.
I think he might be on the wrong team.
They need to get him out of. They need to get him out of the backup lineups. And they need to put him up. They need to put Bazley in those lineups because Baze isn't. It's just not happening.
You're done. I sense you're done with Bazley. You were kind of done with him before the season started.
A little bit. It just hasn't worked. It just doesn't seem like it's there. Yeah. And it could wind up being a campaign situation where years down the line he figures it out and whatever. But right now it just doesn't seem like it's happening. And yeah, Poku just needs to be out there with more competent people. He needs to be out there in the best possible situation for himself to be able to build some confidence and learn how to operate out there where it's not just the ball is in his hands the whole time. You know what I mean? He needs to learn how to
How about this statement? He's the worst player who is allowed to do the things that he does.
That might be true. Okay.
So that one, we can agree to that one.
I might be okay with that. The worst player who kind of has a green light.
Yeah. There we go.
I like that.
Maybe some other rookies have that too. I'm not totally sure.
I am gonna now though. I'm gonna be paying close attention to. I actually think the worst player in the league is, and I'm gonna periodically DM you and be like, "What do you think of this?"
It's fine. Like I 2 years ago, I believed Jordan Poole was the worst player in the NBA, and I don't think that opinion was wrong. His rookie year, I think he might have been the worst player in the NBA,
right?
Or at least the worst player getting minutes. But now he's pretty good. Like he's a solid player. So it's not a lifelong curse.
It's all fluid. Totally.
I'm giving you fluid. Let's finish with this. The last game the Thunder played,
right?
They were winning against the Clippers.
I was there. I was in the building. It was crazy.
You were at the game.
Yeah.
I wanted to know, as much as you've been programmed and accept your programming to cheer for losses.
Yeah.
This was a situation where I would assume you wanted to win,
very much.
Because the Thunder own the Clippers draft pick for the next 5 years. The Clippers were at what, 1-4, and this was like a chance to send the Clippers, I believe, to 1-5. You guys were winning up by 9 points late after some Giddey buckets.
I know.
And
it would
so
have been huge for us.
That pain was it awful to revisit what it felt like to lose when you actually wanted to win for the first time in a couple years?
You know, what's funny is I think that we're still, as a fan base, we're still just in shock over what the Clippers did to us at the end of the season last year, whenever they just purposefully shit the bed in that final game.
It's the Daniel Oturu game.
I mean, if you ever want to watch a bad, ugly basketball game, go watch that. Either go watch that game or watch the game that the Thunder played against the Celtics like a week and a half before that or something.
Yeah, those still on League Pass, guys. You can go back in previous seasons. If you don't know, you can go watch it right now.
Is that true? Can you do that?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Oh, it is.
At least it used to be true. I haven't tried it this year, but
it is two of the most disgusting games that I've ever seen.
So you were heartbroken because this is what it's like. You actually winning was good because it would help your draft pick, and you assume you could take out yourself later.
I mean, in all honesty, to be serious, I was wanting them to win just like as a fan, like it just in my just in Shea in particular was playing so well. I mean, especially in that third quarter. But yeah, well, and we had a double-digit lead at one point, pretty late. But then just Paul George went supernova. There was a game last year whenever Lou Dort hit a game winner, like against the Spurs in the it was like a corner three, like truly at the buzzer, fell down, team jumps on him afterwards. And I remember watching that play, and when the ball left his hand, like as the ball was coming to him, I was like, oh no, what do I want to happen? What do I want to happen here? And then as the ball left his hands, all I wanted was for it to go in.
Right.
Like when the ball was in the air. Yeah. And then he made it, thrilled. 5 minutes later, like, nah, man, these are the kind of games you got to lose. You know, we got to lose these.
It's horrible. The league has done this to you. It's horrible. Adam Silver and David
I got a letter in. I got some emails in, and I'm trying to get some people on the phone. We're going to see, but I'm like, I wish they would have won. Obviously, I wish they would have won because I do not think we're going to win very many this year. But no, losses are wins.
Losses are wins.
Yeah.
That's the next Oklahoma City Thunder book.
Yeah, I'm going to do
losses or win, the Thunder 2020 to 2020 open-ended. We'll see. Anyway, Tyler, it's always a pleasure talking.
Dude, great
best
to see
of
you,
luck to Maladone and Trey Mann and Jeremiah Robinson Earl and all your children whom you love equally.
Thank you so much. I'll tell them you said hi.
All right. Thanks, man. That's all I needed. See you, buddy.
See you.